All right, Molly and Dana Marie, for more on this, let's bring in former Border Patrol Chief Rodney Scott joining us. He's a Senior Distinguished Fellow at the Border Security at the Texas Public Policy Foundation. Chief, let's dive right in there. And Dana Marie, great reporting there from El Paso. El Paso had 1,187 in the last 24 hours, 1,134, I believe, in San Diego, where you're very familiar with. The numbers are not slowing down, and you have an incredibly large number of Chinese specifically coming through the San Diego sector right now. And in the light of the other news out there, do you look at this and see the number of Chinese coming as a problem? Let me just quickly, before you answer that, show our viewers what we're talking about. You have already eclipsed the entire fiscal year last year in the first 6 months of this fiscal year, more than 24,000. It's a 7,000% increase compared to 2021, which had barely some 300 and nearly 50. What do you make of it?
Yeah, thank you for having me on again, Griff. And it is a very, very significant issue. So if you go beyond or backwards beyond 2021, Chinese illegal aliens crossing between the ports of entry were nickel and dime. You would have surges every now and then, but to have more than like 1,000 in a year is pretty rare. So to have 2 years in a row now where the numbers you just showed, and then to highlight as well, 99% of those are coming through Southern California right now, primarily San Diego, but some as far as El Centro. And the numbers we just talked about in El Paso, I think it's important for people to know as well so you understand the consequences. El Paso sector covers the entire state of New Mexico as well as the westernmost portion of Texas itself. So the vast majority of the illegal aliens that are being recorded in El Paso are crossing to the west, basically meaning in New Mexico. Because New Mexico, Arizona, California, they haven't done like Governor Abbott has in South Texas, where the state has actually stepped in and is trying to create deterrence. That doesn't exist in these other states, and that's why we continue to have this massive problem. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't highlight once again, the entire issue is predicated on catch and release. So when this administration re-implemented catch and release, that's when this massive amount of illegal immigration crossed. And that's what has to be fixed. It's not a money issue, it's a policy issue. If we detain people or deport them, you can do either one, you just can't release them into the U.S., this crisis would dry up overnight.
Yeah. Well, Chief, it's very interesting that you mentioned the current administration's policies, because a little reported piece of news here, 5 House Democrat lawmakers now sending a letter upset about what's happening, wanting the president to bring back Trump-era policies. This is what they said. They said, we are also calling today on President Biden to use the authority given the executive by Congress to immediately re-implement 8 U.S. Code 1225. And of course, many will note that that is Title 42 authorities. They add, and we are calling today on leaders in both the House and the Senate to pass legislation to give Border Patrol back the expulsion authority that expired last year. It's interesting, too, when you look at the lawmakers, Vicente Gonzalez of Texas, but also you've got Jared Golden of Maine. They're seeing an increase. Washington State, Alaska. What's that tell you?
It tells me that people are waking up and realizing that the border is a transit location. Nobody stays there. All these illegal aliens, the fentanyl that's coming in behind them. And I want to go back to the reporter in Texas just before this, and you showed those people up on top of the mountaintop. The guides in that group are also counting how many Border Patrol agents are working, where they're at, and then they're pushing across enough people that are willing to surrender to wipe out those resources so that that second wave of criminals and narcotics can come through. And I believe that's what you're seeing. The country is waking up to the threats associated with literally having an open border. And no matter how compassionate you are, if you look into this a level or two deep, you realize your compassion's been hijacked. An open border does not help anyone. It actually puts the migrants at risk, and it puts our whole nation at risk. And I think political parties aside, people are starting to realize that. And, you know, Trump gets a lot of credit for locking down the border, as well he should. But the Border Patrol strategy that the Biden administration walked away from was a 27-year bipartisan strategy built on preventing crime before it happens, preventing the illegal entry. The Biden administration walked away from that, not just because it was Republican, but a lot of Democrats had supported that up until January 2021 as well.
Great point. Former Chief Rodney Scott, thank you for your time. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Griff. Have a great day.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.